Yes.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Chris Berryman here, coalition builder and founder of Bringing Humanity Together. This is going to be a special time this week. So, from everyone here at Bringing Humanity Together, first, we wanted to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Um, Normally, we will have our Humanity Happy Hour on a Thursday, but because Thursday is Thanksgiving, we'll be taking that day off. So spend your quality time and your loved ones and wherever they are and around the world. Call them up, whatever. Just spend time with them and enjoy the day and be thankful for not only of the people that's around you, but also your family, your loved ones, your sons and your daughters, and even those little fur babies, they're family too. So just be thankful we have all those people around us. So I just want to let you all know from everyone else here at Bringing Humanity Together, we are so humbled and honored to have you guys watching and engaging with us and everything. And just want to let you know, as of last night, I just got the word that our LinkedIn business page is now ready to go for LinkedIn Live. So coming next week, you will see these live streams now on our LinkedIn business page moving forward. So just as a reminder to let everyone know that, again, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. We greatly appreciate you guys engaging with us and being a part of this great dynamic that is bringing humanity together. So please, we are so humbled and honored. And of course, welcome everyone to our Bringing Humanity Together live stream. I want to say it's the Happy Thanksgiving edition. So let's put it that way. This is one of the 3 open forums under the Bringing Humanity Together umbrella where people can discuss topics related to the workplace, humanity in the workplace in a very positive, constructive way. We want to know what the issues that are out there that are facing people today because it's our goal, our mission, our passion, our purpose to both work with employees and employers to bring humanity back into the workforce. And as always, we'll be going live every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, all at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll have a 15-minute meet and greet from 2:45 to 3. Please feel free to invite your friends, coworkers, colleagues, people who just got done with Thanksgiving. We would love to even hear from them too as well. And we want to inspire you and uplift you to really say, I need to share this with my friends and family. So when you even see this on the replay, please use the hashtag replay and let us know where you're even watching from because one of us would love to have that great and engaging conversation with you to really what motivated you to jump on and watch and listen or even join us on a live stream. And we will love to hear from you and everything. And also just remember, every Tuesday, Sharon Kara Sandy, I host every Wednesday Conversations for Humanity. And Miss Carla always hosts Humanity Happy Hour every Thursday. So, Miss Sandy, how are you doing today on Terrific Tuesday?
I'm doing very well, Chris. And actually, we have some sun here today.
Oh, nice.
But it's
It's
supposed to
so cold because right now here in Florida, it's only 66 degrees outside.
Okay, well, it's only 7 degrees Celsius here, so it's not very warm either. But it's supposed to start raining again on Wednesday night, and Thursday is supposed to be a real washout. They're predicting, are you ready for this, Chris? 90 millimeters of rain.
Oh, my word.
So that's the day that I'm going for the surgery. So I said to you, well, maybe we should just row over.
Yale, we're going to the hospital. Which way do you want to travel? Do you want to travel by foot or do you want to travel by boat? Which do you choose?
Well, Vancouver hasn't been as badly hit as the interior of BC, which has been flooded and has washed out all the highways, Chris, all of them. Highway 1 and Highway 3 and Highway 5 and Highway 7, they're all washed out.
Wow.
And the floodplain that used to be a lake has turned back into a lake. And a lot of the farmers there have lost, literally thousands of animals have been lost. There were some cows that were lost and most of the chickens are gone. You know, like it's very sad. And this is where most of the eggs come from for BC. So, you know, with these chicken farms having, you know, lost pretty much all their animals. I don't know what's going to happen with eggs. We're going to have to be looking at them from the US or from Alberta or something else. And you can't drive anywhere in BC because you can't get through. The highways are washed out. And I mean, it's just terrible what's happened. Plus the railways, they're also washed out. So they're trying to rebuild it. And they've actually brought hundreds of soldiers in to help rebuild this stuff. And so we've got a big army in the interior. They're trying to rebuild this. So they've got some of the highways open partially, and single lane alternating and stuff like that, and so that at least trucks who are bringing in supplies and food and other things can get through, because otherwise there's no access. And they sent a barge up here with gasoline because a lot of our stations are empty. And it's the same thing getting fresh produce and stuff. A lot of the trucks have to go through the States to get by the washed out roads, and so it's been absolutely horrendous.
Mm-hmm.
So, they call it a, what did they call it? Some kind of
monsoon, I think, or something like that.
It's called a river, a moisture river or rain river. Anyway, whatever. And it's
some kind of dome or something like that. You
had a heat dome in the summer.
Yeah.
This is different, and it's just it's storm after storm after storm. And
wow.
Really, it's hitting the coast and it's hitting the interior of BC. Something awful.
Yeah, monsoons are really bad in India, Southeast Asia, Southwest Asia. Monsoons are really bad in that part of the world.
Yeah, they're terrible, and it's supposed to be windy here too. So we'll have, that means there'll be power outages. So where we are, all our power is underground, Chris. So it probably won't affect us, fortunately, because in this complex, all the power lines are underground.
Which is smart.
Yeah, we don't have any poles around here. It's all underground. But, in a lot of places, the wind, blows trees over and they knock down the power lines. And, it's terrible. There are thousands of people without power in the interior. So it's just, you just feel sorry for these people. It's just god awful. And a lot of them, like Merritt is one of the towns there. There are 7,000 people that live there. They all had to be evacuated. There's no one in the town, Chris. No one.
Oh, my word.
Every house is underwater. Every single house is underwater. Can you imagine what those people are going to come back to?
I couldn't imagine. I've seen floods. I have seen hurricanes. I have even lived through a couple of tornadoes. So I can't imagine to say, well, I take it back. Back when Hurricane Katrina came through Louisiana, and some relatives that actually was passing through Louisiana when it hit, they said the houses, because they were built on stilts, and especially in New Orleans, that's the way they built. Some of the houses that we even were built on stilts, some of that water was even going above the house, and even though they were on stilts.
God.
So sometimes that's the way nature works. Storms can be very powerful.
We actually went to Louisiana, and we saw the devastation from Katrina. I mean, they've been repairing, a lot of things, but there was still a lot of mess there. It was just so sad, Chris, to see.
Yeah.
You feel sorry for the people that have lost their home and lost their business and, all these different things. And, in the interior, they show all these cars that are just floating away.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And see, New Orleans is one of the unique cities that's in Louisiana's actually below sea level.
Yes.
So when you think about it, you're thinking when you go through downtown and you go through, the basically historic district. And this is one thing I've learned. When you go to the historic district and you go by some of these cemeteries, none of the coffins are actually buried in the ground. They're all above ground.
They are. We know because we went. I actually think it's a very, New Orleans is a very cool town. I mean, Neil and I had a time there, and of course they've got lots of great music and all sorts of things. I mean, we
Bourbon Street is the place to be.
Yep. And we were there for about 3 or 4 days, and we had a wonderful time. We walked everywhere, and I mean, it was just it's a very interesting town. We were glad
It
we
is.
So, and you see from Toronto, there's a direct flight from
Oh,
Vancouver.
nice.
It's really hard to get to from here, but we went to Toronto. We were visiting the kids, and then we went down to New Orleans from Toronto, and there's a direct flight from Toronto right to New Orleans. So, it was no big deal. But,
Nice.
yeah, and Mark's been there because he actually did some work there.
Oh, nice.
Well, he used to travel a lot, Chris. He's not traveling much now, but he used to travel a lot. He was always on the road.
Yeah.
With this pandemic, he's not doing that anymore. In fact, the office in Edmonton has been closed, so he doesn't go.
Wow.
They do everything now virtually, so he hasn't been to Edmonton for quite some time. So that's kind of interesting.
And I guess for him, it's not that big of a drive from Toronto to Edmonton.
Oh yes, it is.
It is?
Oh yeah, it's because Edmonton is about a 2-hour plane flight from Vancouver.
Okay.
And Toronto is a 5-hour plane flight from Vancouver.
So for him, it would be 5 hours to take there by plane, and probably take
a few days.
13 hours to drive.
A few days to drive.
Few days.
Because Mark is not far from New York. Okay, Toronto's not that far from New York.
Yeah, it is.
And Edmonton is north of Calgary. Calgary is a 1-hour flight from Vancouver, and Edmonton is about an hour and a half to 2 hours flight from Vancouver. So they're in the next province. They're in Alberta, and Mark's in Ontario. And there's BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario. So it's a long, long ways. He's on the other side of the continent.
Yeah.
So it's it's far. Like when I moved to Toronto, I took my car, but here's what I did, Chris. I put it on the train, and I went on the train too. But when I came back, one of my girlfriends flew out to Toronto, and we drove back from Toronto. It took us 5 days.
Yeah.
It's a long, long haul. So, like Mark said, he said, well, if you don't want to get on a plane, you guys can drive. I went, no, not driving to Toronto. Forget it, not happening. And certainly not this time of year, because this time of year, there's a lot of snow on the roads, and I don't want to be dealing with that either. So no, we will, if we go.
Well, when I lived in Louisville, Kentucky, that was my first real snow that I've actually lived in. I mean, when I went to my grandparents' place in Tennessee, they had a place up there in Kingsport. I've always played in the snow, so I've seen snow, but to actually literally live in it, it's a totally different thing.
Totally.
And one day when I was little, and it was, of course, school was out, and it was because snow days are common up there. So we were out of school for, I think it was like a whole week, because snow was just so bad. We had a bad blizzard that year. But one of my first things I remember is my dad told me, whatever you do, don't run outside out the door. And I'm like, what? Because there will be ice on the ground. And I'm thinking ice on the ground will be like maybe on the actual grass and stuff like that. I wasn't thinking, concrete ice. And I'm thinking, no, that ain't happening. But lo and behold, there can be ice on concrete. So when you get concrete and ice together, what do? What? I just went feet first, hit right in my keister, and I'm like, I will never do that again. And I literally was running outside because I wanted to go play outside in the snow. But young me didn't say that. No, slow down, Chris. You gotta slow down. There's ice on the concrete. No, I was like, okay, I gotta go outside. So what did I do? There you go. Bye bye. And that really hurt my little feelings, and that hurt my keister at the same time.
Well, I think I told you, Chris, when Mark and Kim and the boys came to Vancouver one summer, we went up to Whistler for a week.
Yeah.
We took the boys up to the top of Whistler Mountain, and there's a peak-to-peak chair from Whistler to Blackcomb.
Oh, wow.
And some of them have glass bottoms, so we actually lined up to get into the glass bottom chairs. Yeah, it's a gondola.
Right.
And, So Jack, the older one, and I think he was about 9 when they came here. So he's looking at me and it's August and he goes, "Why is there snow up here? It's August." I said, "Well, this is a mile-high mountain. There's always snow up here." He couldn't believe it that in August there was snow and there was a lot of snow. There were people skiing, Chris. People ski in the summer at Whistler.
Yeah.
So, when you go up to the very top, there's a lot of snow. So Jack was
Right.
just blown away. He couldn't believe there was snow. So he was having fun. He was making snowballs and throwing them at his brother. But, but it's just, it's a whole different world. And they had a wonderful time because there were all sorts of activities for them. And one of the things we did was an escape room. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
Yeah, so they have that up at Whistler. So we did an escape room. But there were so many things for the kids to do. They had bungee jumping and they had a slide thing that you could go on. And there were just all sorts of things and rope climbing and, all sorts of stuff. And what you did is you bought them a pass for a half day, and then they could do any of those things as many times as they wanted. So the boys they loved it. They just had such a good time. And, so if they come again, Jack says, "Well, if we come again, do we get to go to Whistler?" And I said, "Of course." Of course we'll go. Well, and the other thing we did an ATV ride. Because they have one of those near the golf course. And Mark had looked into it and said, "We're going to do that. You guys want to come?" I went, "Of course." So Jack kept saying to me, "Go faster."
That's amazing. That is amazing.
They loved it. They just thought that was so cool. So
Yeah.
Each of the boys went with one of their parents. So Sam went with Kim and Jack went with Mark, and Yale and I each had our own. And I mean, we had a lot of fun. The trails are, like this and whatever. But the boys just thought it was so cool. And I said to Mark, I said, this was a good idea, to let them try something different. And there's a lot of things to do up there. You can go whitewater rafting, and you can go. There are places that don't have snow, so you can do hiking. There's lots of golf courses. So, for people who want to golf, there's at least half a dozen golf courses up there. And, you can go horseback riding. You can go biking because there's biking trails, because around one of the golf courses, there's a paved trail all the way around. So you can actually bike all the way around. And there's also a paved trail beside the highway all the way up to Pemberton. So you can actually ride your bike all the way up to Pemberton. But
Nice.
there's lakes, and there's just, there's all sorts of things to do there in the summer as well as in the winter. So, it doesn't matter when you go up there, there's always things to do. And in the summertime, when the weather's nice, they have entertainment on the street in Whistler Village. There's singers and dancers and, all kinds of stuff. And you can just wander around and be entertained.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice.
Sometimes even have them on the top of the mountain. So, yeah.
Nice.
It's a wonderful place to go, and it's a great place for families because there's so many things for the kids to do. And that's nice, especially when you have little boys, because, little boys need to be active. So, if you have little boys and there's lots of things for them to do, they have a good time. And Jack loved it. I mean, he just couldn't get enough of it. Sam, being much smaller at the time, he got tired, so he would go back to the cabin with Kim. But Jack, I mean, he would just run around all afternoon.
Nice. So I want the theme of this week, because this is being Thanksgiving week, about what can we be thankful for. And you brought up something I thought was really interconnected with that, is forgiveness.
Yeah.
How can being thankful for somebody, whether to be in business or in life itself, how does that play out, and what does that look like in a lot of different instances? I'm sure that's going to be probably a lot of different ways. But from your experience, Sandy, what have you been thankful for in the places that you've been working in, especially in the dinner industry and also in being an educator and stuff? What does being in the environment of thankfulness and forgiveness really look like to you and mean to you?
Well, what I was always thankful for when I was practicing was the fact that my dad was such a good mentor, Chris. I mean, I think I told you the first book he told me to read was How to Win Friends and Influence People, you know, but he he was very good with patients. I think I also told you that he knew how to do hypnosis. So for people who were afraid of needles, he would hypnotize them instead of giving them an injection. And so I learned a lot of different techniques on how to handle people more effectively. So I was very thankful for the experience that my dad brought to the table and shared with myself and my brother. And we learned a lot on how to deal effectively with people. And I found that interesting as well as beneficial because, in the end, if you can establish a good relationship with your patient, with trust and respect and rapport, then you have a far better chance of getting them to listen to you so that they will actually do the things that you know are to their benefit in terms of brushing and flossing and whatever else you offer them in terms of keeping their mouths clean so that they can be healthy. In addition, sometimes patients, especially after they'd had a treatment plan presented to them, then they'd come to me, what would you do? So I'd say, well, what were you offered? So they would tell me, and I'd say, well, here are the advantages of this, and here are the advantages of this one. So it just depends on what you think will look nicer in your mouth. Like, what would you prefer to have? Because I said, you can have just a plain gold crown, or you can have a porcelain fused to gold so that it actually looks like a tooth. So it's just, it's up to you in terms of what you want to have in terms of. But I said, I'll be frank with you. Gold is better because with the porcelain fused to gold, sometimes it chips off. So you sometimes have to get those replaced. But gold lasts better. So it's just, especially if it's on a molar, it's at the back. Nobody needs to see it. I mean, you're not going to put a gold crown on a front tooth. That, of course, you're going to do porcelain. But on a molar at the back, unless you walk around like this all the time, nobody's going to see the crown. So it's just a matter of what you're doing and what tooth it is that needs to be repaired and those kinds of things. And I would actually get out either the pictures or I would bring them a gold crown and a porcelain fused so they could see what they looked like. And sometimes for front teeth, you could just do a fully porcelain crown, doesn't even have gold inside of it. And it just looks exactly like a tooth, Chris. It doesn't. So it's just a matter of, what are you doing? And I was always thankful that my dad had taught me these things so that I could create better relationships with the patient so that they knew that I cared about them and that what I was telling them was for their benefit. And so I had a far better chance of getting them to do what they needed to do, because otherwise, forget it, not going to happen. And I told you that, again, it's the same message, but you've got to package it in a way that makes sense to people. So, for example, if somebody had a health issue, then I would tell them, you have over 300 different organisms that live in your mouth, and some of them are pretty nasty. And if you are swallowing them all the time, what they do when they get inside your body is they look for a weak spot. So if you have a weak heart, or you've got kidney dysfunction, or you've got a knee replacement or a hip replacement, that's where they're going to lodge. And, or you've got a heart problem. You don't want that. So it's very important to keep your mouth as healthy as possible so that you're not putting other parts of your body at risk. So it's just a matter of understanding why we're showing them to do the things that we are showing them to do. Because in the end, it's up to them. I mean, I'm not going to go to their house and brush and floss their teeth for them. But it's a matter of them understanding why they have to do it. And they have to do it. I used to tell them twice a day is enough. I said, you don't necessarily need to do it 3 times a day, but you got to do it in the morning and you got to do it at night. And if you get something caught during the day, so get out your floss and, get it out. It's just a matter of what are you doing? And what I'm thankful for now is the fact that, again, you still have to establish rapport with your clients, Chris, because otherwise, you're not going to get repeat work. And you also want to make sure that you're making them happy. And I'm thankful for my background in education because it helps me to create programs that are going to be more meaningful for, different clients. I had a conversation this morning with a woman that I've just met on LinkedIn, and she liked some of the things that were on my website. So I told her, well, why don't you go and explore a little bit more and then send me an email from the website so that I can then send you some different elements that you might like to put into a program. And once we decide what you think is going to be most beneficial for your people, then I will create the PowerPoint, and I will also provide you with a fully documented syllabus. She said, you will? I said, yeah, I always do that. That way the participants don't need to take notes, because I prefer that they be actively involved in their learning experience and not busy writing notes, because they disengage. And sometimes they don't write the right things down, and they don't write it down correctly. And this way, every concept that I'm going to teach them is going to be fully developed in their syllabus. In addition, any exercises that we do will be in there. And space to write things down for some of the exercises will also be in their handout. So they have it to take away, because you do a half day or a full day workshop, nobody remembers it all, Chris. So this way, they've got that to refer back to so that they can remind themselves on, some of the issues. And it's the same thing, with the way I set up my book, because the way this is set up, it's laced with stories and examples. But at the end of the chapter, at the end of every chapter, there is an exercise. So like this is the accountability chapter. So there's an accountability exercise. But then the very last page of every chapter is just a numbered list of the key takeaways on that aspect of communication. So it's a quick summary of the chapter, just to sort of remind them what they should be taking away from this particular aspect of communication. So, it's just a matter of, and the gal who helped me with this, because I have pulled quotes, so you can see right here, there's a pull quote in a box. So, she said to me, what do you want to do with those? And I said, well, what would you suggest? So, why don't we put them in a little box? I went, okay. And she said, what about your page numbers? Do you want that at the top or at the bottom? So again, I said to her, what would you suggest? You've had a lot of experience with this. She said, actually, it's, kind of nice to put them at the top of the page. It's easier to see. And you can also put the name of the chapter at the top of the page. So, it's just, she really helped me, and she did the design. And she even, some of the bullet points that I have in here are little stars. So she even even carried this theme forward and did stars for bullet points. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if you can see this, but the stars there.
Nice.
So she even found those for bullet points. So she was amazing. She was just really terrific, and I thought she did a really good job. Also, she got me a very good editor. And I was appreciative of that, because the editor had no background in communication, Chris. So if something wasn't clear to her, then I knew that I hadn't made it clear enough. So I appreciated the comments that she gave back to me. And I was very thankful that this, project manager had gotten me such a good editor. I had Mark's very good proofreader. I had him proofread the chapters. I proofread the chapters, but I shouldn't be doing it because I know what it says. So sometimes you miss things. But also the book project manager, she proofread it, and the editor proofread it. And here's what's interesting. In the end, they put it up on their website, the company that published the book. And I actually checked everything on the website. And guess what? I found 2 mistakes that nobody else found.
Wow.
The website cost me about $30 to fix those, but I figured, better to fix it now than, to find it in the book later.
Exactly.
So I was very thankful for having met this woman. I actually interviewed 3 people. She was the only one who brought books with her that she'd already published, Chris. So, kind of interesting. And they were all very nice looking. And I had a very interesting experience. I went into a local bookstore. Yale told me to. And I asked to see the manager. And I asked her if she'd like to sell my book. And she looked at me, Chris. You won't believe this. She goes, is it self-published? I said, yes, it is. She went, oh. And then I handed her the book, and she looked at it, and she goes, well, it doesn't look self-published. And I said, well, I had a very good book project manager who helped me with the design. And so she said, okay, we'll sell your book. So that's how it got into her store. But it was
Nice.
interesting. Well, I guess I've seen some books that are self-published. And you know what, Chris? They look self-published.
Yeah.
And usually not well edited. And so there are a lot of spelling mistakes and grammatical errors and, just things that aren't set up properly. And I didn't want to publish a book that was like that. So I was very thankful on how this gal helped me and how she got me a good editor. And so in the end, I ended up with a very nice book. And she also told me where to get it published. I got it published in Winnipeg.
Wow.
And they were very good, Chris. They told me when it would be at my front door, and it was. It was at my front door the day they said it would be. So, they were really terrific. And
That's amazing.
For that, because she really knew, who to get and so on and so forth. And again, I kept the book small on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned to you before, a lot of people don't read big books. They buy, they show people that they have them, but they don't read them. Because some people do, but most people prefer a little book like that because it's easier to get through. And that's why I sort of kept it small, because I figured I'd have a far better chance of making more sales and of people actually reading the book than if I did one on soft skills, which was my original plan. I was going to do a book on soft skills. Too big. It would have way too much material in it. So I just focused on communication because to me, effective communication is the cornerstone of successful, long-lasting, meaningful relationships in every aspect of our lives. And if we don't communicate effectively, we're going to have confusion and miscommunication and disappointment and resentment, and all those things cause us stress. And of course, especially right now during this pandemic, the last thing we need is more stress. So it's a matter of understanding how to communicate effectively with our family, with our friends, with our colleagues, with our customers, whatever it is. And if we can do that, we will have a far easier time in terms of everything that we do. And, as John Maxwell says, listen, learn, lead. I mean, if you don't know how to listen, you're going to miss all kinds of things. And that's going to be a really big problem. And I told you that, unfortunately, we don't learn how to listen. We know how to hear because we have two ears, unless we're hearing impaired, but we actually don't learn how to listen. And listen requires focus and concentration and needs to be done in a setting that doesn't have a lot of interferences, like no side talking and no people walking in and out of the room and no traffic noise and no construction noise and no business machines going, because all those things are distracting. On top of which, because we're not mind readers, we don't know what's going on in someone's head. And if they come to a conversation and they're tired or they're hungry or they're not feeling well or they're too hot or they're too cold or they have a problem of their own, all those things are going to supersede anything you're going to tell them. And
that is true.
Some people come to a conversation with a preconceived idea of what you're going to tell them. So there's a wall down inside their head and they're not going to hear anything you say because they've already decided what you're going to tell them. But interestingly enough, sometimes that's not what we tell them. So then they miss the whole conversation. So that's why I also say, don't ask someone if they understood you, because they're always going to say yes, because they don't want you to think that they weren't listening or that they're stupid.
Right.
Better to ask them, what do you think I expect of you? And that way you can have much better feedback in terms of, did they actually hear me? Did they know what I was trying to get across to them? Because otherwise you'll have no clue and likely you will not get what you want. And that's really the problem with having a conversation with someone. You need to find out what they actually heard, how they processed it, and if they came to the conclusion that you're looking for. So that's why asking them what they think you expect of them is a far better question than, did you understand me?
Correct.
It's just a matter of figuring out, again, how to talk to people. You have to figure that out. And in order to be successful, and then you can be thankful and happy because you're going to get what you want. But, again, when people screw up, and human beings are very imperfect creatures, Chris, when people screw up, you have to forgive them because they're human. Humans make mistakes, but mistakes are opportunities to learn. So if it's handled in a supportive, encouraging manner, then you have a far better chance that they won't make that mistake again. But if you yell at them and make them feel bad and shame them, especially in front of other people, the next time they make a mistake, because everybody knows when they've made a mistake, they will cover it up. And when they cover up mistakes, it turns into a bigger mess. I'm sorry. So what a manager or a leader, team leader needs to do is to say, so Chris, looks like we have a little problem here. Why don't you come into my office? Let's talk about it. Okay, so what do you think happened? All right, so how should we fix this? What do you think we should do to fix this? And you come up with things. And so can I offer you one other suggestion? Okay, so before you go off and fix this, the next time you're faced with that kind of situation, what do you think you could do so that we don't end up with this kind of outcome? So we can talk about that. And then I'd say, okay, you go ahead and fix that up. And by the way, Chris, if you run into any problems and you can't get out of this and fix it, you come back to me and I'll help you. So, if a leader or a manager handles a situation in that way, then the person feels that they've got their back. And so they won't be afraid to come to them again when they've screwed up. And it's very important that you feel comfortable like that. And you're going to get far better results if you do it that way than if you are a nasty manager, and point fingers and blame. And, that just, the person already feels bad. They know they screwed up. So now you're going to make them feel worse and embarrass them in front of everybody else. Sorry, not the right approach.
Right.
It's a matter of how are you dealing with things? And, everybody makes mistakes. Even managers and leaders make mistakes, and they need to own it. So everybody has to be accountable, and they need to say, sorry guys, that was my mistake. I'm going to take care of it. It's nobody else's fault, and I'm going to fix this. I am so sorry. And when they can do that, it sets a really good example, because that's the walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Right.
So, and if you have a manager or a leader who does that, you can be very thankful that you are working with someone who recognizes those kinds of things and owns up to what they do. And you can be so thankful that you are working with someone like that. And
right.
You can forgive them because they forgive you, and it's a two-way street.
Exactly. And Brian just said this in the live stream. This is what he just said.
Okay.
People often don't understand what is involved in forgiving. They think that if somebody does something wrong and you forgive them, it's like saying that it was all right to do that time, but don't dare to do it again. But life doesn't work that way, and it's stupid or hypocritical to forgive someone on that basis. If someone does something, that you can be sure he or she will do it again. What's your thoughts on that from Brian?
Well, I think that, again, it depends how you handle it, Chris. And if you handle it in a way that, like you say, so what do you think happened here? Yeah, not a good outcome, is it? So what do you think you could do next time so that we don't get this kind of outcome? So that way, we're looking at the mistake. How did it happen? How can we fix it? And how can we prevent that from happening next time? And if you do that in a calm, supportive, encouraging conversation, then you can forgive the person. They're human. They make mistakes. But if we have the possibility of fixing this and working on it in a way, they won't make that mistake again. They won't, because they figured out what to do with your guidance and help. And so the next time they're faced with that, they will do something different.
Right. And I truly believe in that. But also, this is what comes to mind too as well. Are we, not only as leaders, but everybody on a team or even in our communities, whatever that might be, are we thankful enough and have that understanding if people do make that mistake? Number one, are we putting them in that kind of dynamic what Brian just laid out, that it's okay for them to do it again? Or do we want to be so thankful of that opportunity that comes before us to say, hey, this is going to be a lesson learned. This is how we can learn it and everything like that. But we don't have to do it again, because if we do it again, not only does that become repetitive, but it really defeats the purpose. I don't think it defeats the purpose of forgiving, because sometimes forgiving is not about you, it's about them to begin with. But in the act of forgiving, it goes back to you anyways. Because if you did something wrong and you say, I forgive myself for doing this, but yet I will apologize to everybody and say, hey, I'm the one that screwed up. This is all on my bad and all that kind of stuff. I've I, ha- I haven't seen it in the 50 years I've been alive that if you forgive somebody, they will do the same thing over and over again. They will almost be like a habitual repeater of that said mistake or whatever. I've not really seen that. I mean,
No, and especially if you have gone through the process with them, Chris, and they have examined what happened to create this problem, and then how we can fix the problem, and then the discussion of what you can do next time so that we don't get this outcome. And that way it really is a learning experience. And if they have that opportunity, it's unlikely that they will repeat the mistake.
yeah, Graham just said that. He's like, yeah, they're human. They may or may not do it again. And I get that. But I will tell you a little backstory about how I look at thankfulness, and especially in business. There has only been probably two people in my entire adult life that I've worked with them that has really inspired me, and I was so thankful and honored and grateful that they were actually teaching me things that I probably will still hold today. Um,
Hello? No idea who that was.
back to me. So for what it was for me, it was two people, like I said. The first person I'll mention, his name is Craig Bishop. He was actually a restaurant manager for McDonald's years and years and years ago. The guy was just so down to earth, so understanding, but yet knew the needs that I needed to have to make me a better, not only a trainer at McDonald's, but also a better person and a better leader. Um, he understood what I was going through, especially at a young age, going through special education and all that kind of stuff. So he knew how to take my mannerisms and the way I thought and really guide me in the way that I can still work it within the model of the world that works good for Chris, but he can also take what McDonald's is wanting to do and kind of incorporate that through the days that I did.
Yeah.
But I was so thankful for the way he led with his humanity in such a way that it got me to where I needed to go. I was a crew trainer for 3.5 years there. I mean, there's still things still to this day that I will remember for probably until I'm probably in a wheelchair and only want McDonald's food. Say, hey, you cooked this for 30 seconds. Well, how did you know that? I was working McDonald's years ago before you even were born. But the second person I was really, truly thankful for who came in my life, he was actually also in the restaurant business too as well. His name was Dave Carpenter. He worked at Golden Corral, and I was at Golden Corral for almost 2 years. The guy was in the same boat as Craig Bishop was. He was down to earth. He knew what needed to be done, but he reached out to every single person on the team and knew how to get people to do the things that they could be able to do. And he played to the strengths of everybody, not necessarily the weaknesses. Same thing with Craig. Craig always looked to the strengths of you, not really the weaknesses of you. But he was so down to earth when he had those conversations with you to say, hey, you could have done this very good here, but this is where you could have really accelerated that and made it even better. He put it in that kind of positive context and say, hey, how can we make this even better? How can we do it better? And he wasn't belittling of anybody. He wasn't talking down to anyone, but he did when something was wrong. They knew that he knew that you that you were going to hear it from him, and you knew that you were in the wrong, you would say, "Hey, look, you made a bad mistake here. You can't do that." Not only do you have a reputation to uphold, but also we as a team and as a restaurant have to uphold that too as well. And then when you look at it from that dynamic, it'll be like, wow, that's amazing, And those are the only two people that I know when I was working for those two people that really was an inspiration. But see, I'm inspired by everyone on our team. I really am. I'm inspired by Carla. I'm inspired by you. I'm inspired by Christina and Christine, Daniel, Anno and Omar, um,
Brian.
and Brian is here. He's actually that's who you chimed in with. And then Brian just said this back to Graham. It's more effective to get complete with people. So, Brian, sir, love for you to chime in on that. Um, but like I said, everyone that has been a part of this, I'm just been so thankful and honored because I've learned so much from that. And see, that's when the appreciation comes into play. Because when we truly appreciate people for who they are and what they bring to the table, I truly believe that that's a great way moving forward. And let me see who said this because this is going to be a long one. It may be a Brian thing, but let's see. Yeah, this is another Brian. This is what he just said. It's a long one, but this is what he says. Each of us has experienced moments in our lives when we are fully alive, when we know without thinking that is life exactly as it is in this moment. In such moments, we have no wish to be different or be better or more. We have no disappointment, no comparison with ideals, no sense that it is not what it worked for. We feel no protective or defensive urge and have no desire to hold on or to store up or to save. Such moments are perfect in themselves. We experience them as being complete. Wow. That is definitely that's mind blowing.
Well, and you know what? He's right. We do all have moments like that, Chris. I mean, our whole life isn't like that, but we do have moments like that when you know that, things are going well and you're handling things properly and, so on and so forth. But your whole life isn't like that because we all have we all stumble sometimes. But I think that especially when you get into a groove, when you're very comfortable with what you're doing. I mean, after practicing dental hygiene for 40 years, I wasn't making a lot of mistakes anymore. I really knew how to handle people. And my work was very high quality because I felt it needed to be. And my dad, expected that from all of us. But it's picky work. So, but it was a matter of, what are you doing? And I learned to use the instruments safely and carefully. So I very rarely cut anybody with an instrument. And, it's because you learn how to angulate it properly so that
Right.
the blade is against the tooth rather than against the tissue and all those kinds of things. And I rarely hurt people. If I had to do a lot of deep scaling, I would ask them, do you want me to give you some anesthetic? Because if you do, I'm very happy to administer it. And I would freeze them. But for the most part, when you angulate your instruments properly, then you shouldn't be hurting the patient. And, it's just a matter of learning the right techniques. And, once I was comfortable doing that, I didn't worry. I mean, I pretty much never cut anybody.
So let me ask you this then, Sandy. Can we as people be thankful for all that's what's around us? The people, what they bring to the table, uh, what I mean, the as I say, the good, bad, and the ugly. Can we be thankful and embrace all of that? Can we do that?
Well, I think you can. I think it's a matter of looking at the big picture, Chris, if you will. And I think that, we try to surround ourselves with good people and with people that we like and that we care about, and hopefully they care about us too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you have good friends, or, even when you have a good team at work, those kinds of things happen. And I mean, I have quite a large circle of friends, most of whom I have known since I was a kid. And we still see each other, and we still care about each other, and we help each other. Like if I'm really stuck, I can phone up one of my girlfriends and say, "Can you give me a ride somewhere?" They will, and I'll do the same for them. I'm happy to help out. And it's just a matter of what are you doing and what kind of a life are you leading? And if you're leading a life that is supportive and encouraging and you help out, then what goes around usually comes around. It's a matter of how do you live. And I've always been a person, and I guess I learned that because of practice, that I'm happy to help somebody if they need help. I don't mind. I'm very happy if I have the time to help out with something. And, it's just a matter of what are you looking at? Who are you, like what kind of a life are you trying to lead? And I think that, when you have good friends, you're thankful for your good friends, and you appreciate what they do, and they appreciate what you do, and
Right.
good relationships. And
It is. Well, see, to me, relationship value far supersedes any money component that's out there, because I just know in my heart of hearts,
Yeah.
I'm so thankful for people for what they are bringing, no matter if they have a good day, what if they have a bad day. I just accept them for who they are, because if you can accept it for who they are, most often than not, you can also accept you for who you are, and then probably in turn with them, they can accept you for, hey, y'all, you having a bad day? Oh, I just had my car blow out because one of my tires blew up and that kind of thing. And it's like, everything's gonna be okay. A tire does get blown here and there. That's why we have roadside assistance, get you back up and running. AAA is very good. But I just truly believe in that there's that thing that is, I believe it's there. People call it karma, but call it goodwill, good fortune, whatever the case may be. That comes around because you put it out forth in a great way, gonna come back to you in a great way. Just like it's in the negativity. When you put out bad mojo, negativity out there, you're gonna get that right back, one way or another. That's the way it is, and I believe in that.
Well, it's an old story, Chris. What goes around comes around. So, if you're nice and you're supportive and you're helpful, and that's the kind of person that you are, then if you ever need some help, I'm sure that somebody will help you. And if you never help anybody and you're nasty and you're not fun to be around or whatever, then a lot of people will they'll stay away from you. I mean, it's just
Right.
And in my view, life is too short.
Yeah.
This is your life. So if you've missed it, that's your fault. And you should have fun. You should enjoy your life. You should enjoy the people that are in your life. And if you can do that, you're going to have a good life. But if you can't do that, you're not going to have a good life, and it's not going to be very much fun, and you're not going to get a lot out of it. And it's just a matter of looking at the big picture and figuring out how to do things in a way that is going to be good for you and good for the people that are your friends and your family, and even the people that you work with. Because it's the old story, if you said this, if I help you and you help me, then we help we. It's a matter of what are you doing? And if we're of the mindset that we help each other, and that's what teamwork is. Teamwork is helping each other. And if somebody's struggling with something and you can help them, so Chris, looks like you're struggling with that. Can I help you? What do you need? I mean, what's wrong with doing that? I mean, I just, I don't understand.
Well,
Don't
I,
do
I
that.
don't see that there should be nothing wrong with helping others, but also I also know this context too as well, and I'm so thankful by it too as well. Is if we recognize our place in space, whether it be in a work dynamic, whether it be at home, in our community, whatever that might be, I can be able to say, I know this is what goes very well and works very well. Carla does X, X, and X. She does this very well. Sandy does X, X, X. She does that very well. She's really good with soft skill. I mean, all these other. I mean, I could go on and say, hey, these are the guys and ladies who really do their stuff and they do it far better than me. But then again, I recognize that my part in that may be different than theirs. But see, they're interconnected because when you think about it, if we didn't have a Carla or didn't have a Sandy or an Anno or uh, a Daniel or a Brian or a Graham, a lot of these conversations probably wouldn't even take place the way that we have. Because I know that there is a way everything gets kind of in a energy kind of dynamic.
Hmm.
Because when you do this in relevance, like I said, not only in the workplace, but also in what you do at home, there's certain things that you just have to show up to do. It's like, are the dishes going to wash themselves? No. Well, how do I wash the dishes? Well, there's such a thing called a dishwasher. You put them in, put the detergent in, then put said dishwasher in motion and tell it to go. But then again, it doesn't hurt for you to pick up a sponge, pick up some dish soap, and wash your own dishes. That's easy to be done too. Even though I hate doing that because I do that for a living, I can do that. I can do that. But see, that's the great beauty thing about life is there's always a natural way in order to things, and there's always people that are going to do those kind of particular things. And I just honor that, and I'm so thankful for that because see, there might be someone who is really good at X, X, and X compared to I am, and I'll be like, "Hey, wait a minute, Carla, Sandy, how did you do that?" And I've done that many times. I would say, "How did you do that? I did not know. How did that go?" And the more that you get into that, you can say, "Oh, I've learned something new today." And see, that's what my dad taught me at a very young age. He said, "Chris, if you can learn one new thing a day, you've had a productive day."
True. Good point. And again, Chris, it's just a matter of understanding and listening to the people that you associate with.
Mm-hmm.
When you do that, you can learn a lot. I mean, I I liked working in my dad's office because he had very high standards and, we always aimed very high. But I had another boss that was a really good dentist and he was way laid back, not like my dad. And Peter was, it was fun to work in his office. We all had a nice time in there. And, his daughter has now taken over his dental practice.
Wow.
But I worked for him for 12 years. And he was a good boss and he was an excellent dentist. So I was very comfortable because I'm not comfortable working in a dental office where the dentistry is crap. Like it's just ugh. So I always had to work for a dentist that did good dentistry. And I got used to that because I told you my dad had a lot of dentists for patients. So they really appreciated how good his work was. And Peter was just a really good dentist. And I enjoyed working for him. He was a nice man. And I used to see him up at Whistler because he skis too. So, we had a lot of things in common. So it was kind of nice. But it's just a matter of, again, life is too short if you're not enjoying it. I mean, I'm really glad that Mark dared me to do what I'm doing now, because otherwise I probably would have nothing to do, Chris, because I couldn't keep practicing because of my back and my hands and everything. I was starting to fall apart. So I needed to be doing something else that I also loved or enjoyed doing. And this is one of those things. I mean, I like teaching. I've always liked teaching. And I've taught for many, many years. I mean, I started teaching when I was practicing because I told you a colleague and I started the first dental hygiene study club in Canada. And we did that together for 10 years. So, it's an easy transition to just teach other stuff. I mean, that's not so difficult. But it's a matter of, what do you enjoy? Well, nothing gives me more joy than seeing the aha moment on somebody's face, when they get something that you've taught them. And then for me, the real reward is seeing them actually using the things that I've taught them and seeing that it's helping them to make their life easier or better or, whatever. And that's one of the reasons why I enjoy teaching so much, because I like to see those outcomes. And that's also the reason why I like to customize for my clients, because I want to make sure that they're getting what they actually need. And if we can provide that, then they're going to be happy because they're going to get what they need. So what we're providing is beneficial to them. And that's what I always look for. I want to bring benefit to people. I want to help
And
people.
you're absolutely right. And I'm glad you said the word benefit, because see, I know that when you show a person a benefit of something, and it really is going to not only benefit them, but it's going to benefit you, but then again, it will benefit everybody involved. That will go far and wide compared just to saying, hey, you're only supposed to do this because it only affects you now. No, it don't. It affects everybody. It's like my father taught me this. He's like, Chris, whatever you do, put your name on it. So if you do something, your name should shine bright as gold. It's saying that Chris Berryman did this, or Sandy Chernoff did this, or Carla Finnegan did this, and they know it came from them, even though they may not know who you are. They can see the quality of work that was done.
Yes.
And that's not about being prideful or boastful or anything like that. It's about really understanding that you did a good job and you did it to the best of your ability, and it came out with quality, not necessarily quantity. Because see, sometimes when you put things out in a quantity aspect, you keep on doing it over and over and over and over, and over again. It's not sometimes quality that will go out there. It's just like when you see it in the food industry and you put out food like left and right, it goes out less than 7 to 10 minutes, and you're like, why did they put out high quality food in that short time? They do. They can do it. But see, there's sometimes that we falter, we forget how an order is made. Next thing you know, the quality food goes out the door, or out. That's the nickname for it. It goes out the door, and it doesn't really go to that quality kind of dynamic. So there's instances throughout life that I've seen that when you put the quality over the quantity, you lose out on a lot of stuff. And see, the thankfulness dynamic will come from that is when people truly enjoy what they've gotten. Not only they will become repeat into this, but also they will end up having you say, hey, you know what? You did a quality job here. Thank you so much. Where's your manager? Where's your leader? I would like to speak to them. And this might be from Graham, but let's see here. He's already putting a call to action out already before we even ask for call to action. And this is Graham. This is what he just said. Call to action. He says, call to action is to forgive myself for eating lots of biscuits. I may or may not learn from my mistake.
That's funny.
Graham, that is too funny.
That's hysterical.
Biscuits. What would that? Now, is biscuits in the UK, Graham, or is it like
They're cookies.
Huh?
They're cookies.
Cookies? Ah, okay. Because to me, I'm thinking like fish and chips. Because when you think of fish and chips, you think of fish and actual like potato chips. But no, chips for them is actually French fries.
Yeah.
Yeah. So forgive yourself for eating lots of biscuits. That is amazing.
Well, and the thing is that, especially with some people who have no self-control, that's a problem, and it's one of the reasons why some people gain a lot of weight, because they don't know when to stop. And it's a matter of learning, sort of what works for you.
Yeah.
So, if we want to maintain our weight at a reasonable level, we have to be able to stop at a certain point and not keep stuffing stuff in our face. So it's a
Yeah.
matter of understanding what's your metabolism like, and how much do how fast do you burn things up, and under those circumstances, how much can you eat? I mean, there's some people that have an amazing um,
I was like that when I was a kid. Oh my God, Sandy, I could eat anything and I would put no weight on. How would that be? I'm like, Dad, I just ate a bit, almost half of a slab of ribs just my own. And I don't know, Chris. You just got something going on. You still eat whatever it is.
my my son was like that, and Mark, it actually is still like that. But one of the reasons I believe that his metabolism is so high is because he works out like a demon. I mean, you cannot believe what this guy does. Okay, I mean, he runs 13 to 15 kilometers a day early in the morning.
How
And
about what's that in miles then?
um, it's about maybe 10 miles.
Wow.
And he does, he does stairs, and he does push-ups and sit-ups, and he does all kinds of stuff, Chris. He's really fit. I mean, he really is. And he eats a lot, but he metabolizes it because he's, using so much energy to do the things that he does. And I think I told you, when Mark goes for these runs, Sam usually bikes with him. So Sam bikes beside him.
Nice.
Mark runs, and he's only 9, but he's always loved to bike, and he likes to go on his dad's run with him on his bike. So, it's kind of cute, but it's also another good thing that little boys should be active. And 16 kilometers is 10 miles. Okay. So, if little boys are active and they're used to being active, and Mark was always, if he didn't get enough exercise, Chris, you won't believe this. I used to make him go run laps in the backyard, because otherwise he would just get into mischief, because he needed to get rid of that extra energy. And with his boys, they play soccer, they play baseball, they ride their bikes, they have a trampoline in the backyard. They have a basketball hoop on that trampoline, so they can play basketball on the trampoline, if you can believe this. So they're very active, and I think it's good for kids. Also, they both take karate, and so does Mark.
Nice.
Mark has a black belt, and Jack's getting very close, even though he's only 12. He's getting very close to having a black belt.
Is Jack that good like his dad was?
Yeah, they're both the boys are very good athletes, and Jack is much more like his dad. And I think it's nice to see. Mark always, no matter what sport he did it very, very well. He was an amazing soccer player. He was a fantastic skier. He was an incredible tennis player. He went to a summer camp one year as a counselor, and he ended up being the tennis coach at this camp.
Wow.
And, no matter what sport he plays, he does it extremely well, just because he's, my dad was like that, Chris. Mark played water polo in university, and he also played ultimate frisbee in university. I mean, he did all kinds of things. Yeah. And he also played soccer. But, it's just a matter of, what are you doing? And I mean, my dad was like this. He played water polo in university too, but he was an incredible skier, and he was a jogger, and he did all kinds of things. He was a tremendous golfer. My dad golfed in the low 70s. He was an incredible golfer. And I'm sure Mark would be good too, but he doesn't have time. But it's just a matter of, what are you doing? And I mean, I've done all kinds of sports just because I was encouraged to. And I used to do track and field. So I used to run the 60 and 100-yard dash, and I used to do broad jumping, and I used to throw the shot put. And I was in a relay team.
I can't imagine you doing a shot put, Sandy.
I did the shot put. I did. And I used to play baseball, and I played field hockey, and I did.
Wow.
And I'm a certified ski instructor, and I did a lot of also competitive skiing in my day. And, I did lots and lots of things because it was fun. And it was also something to do to keep active. To me, it was always very important to be active. And, I also played basketball, but I was short. So, I was always a guard.
I was the same way. I played football. I played only 1 year of Little League football. I played in quarterback, running back, in defensive safety when I was
Mhm.
in that year. Played 1 year of soccer. I play in the soccer. I was in the youth league, and that was like I think it was the 11 to 10 year olds. So I was in the 10, 11 year old bracket. But my soccer team, we lost every game. But it was fun though. It was really fun. I really loved it. But then also I played basketball in high school for a little bit. Didn't get to play any games because at the time I was evidently told I was too old. When I graduated high school, I was too old for the cutoff date, so I only did the preseason and that was it. I ran track and field. I actually did I did the 880 and did the 400, and then also I did cross country too. And cross country, oh my god, doing cross country, running 3 miles was a pain in my you know what.
Well, and I also did competitive swimming, and I did synchronized swimming, but
And that's tough.
I also did races. So I swam the crawl, and I swam the breaststroke and the backstroke, and I did all kinds of stuff, Chris, just because my dad just said you should. And my brother is a tremendous athlete. Dave is a great tennis player, and he's an amazing skier, and he also used to run, and he also played soccer and basketball. Dave's a really good athlete. And my sister did a lot of things too, just because the rest of us were doing it, not so much because Lynn wanted to or whatever, but the rest of us
She had to join the bunch.
That's right. So she did. So we skied a lot together. She didn't compete, but she skied a lot, and she also did swimming, and she used to jog. I jogged for years. I used to run was one of my exercise. I don't do that anymore. I do this very vigorous workout that Mark gave me because I'm now doing all kinds of things. I do sit-ups and push-ups and jumping jacks, and I do stretches, and I do core exercises. So I stand on one foot, and then I stand on one foot with my eyes closed, and then I do it on the other side. Because one of the things that happens when you get older is you fall, and you fall because you don't have good balance, and you don't have good balance because you're strong.
Exactly.
So that's why I do a number of core strengthening exercises to make sure that doesn't happen, because I've always had good balance. So, you do all kinds of things. And I'm glad Mark introduced me to this, because I think it's better than just running, because I use a whole bunch of different muscles doing the different exercises that I do. And I think it's actually better. I kind of miss running. The reason I miss it is because it's nice to do it outside.
Right, exactly.
Like when Yale and I went to China, we would go jogging in the morning, Chris, and the only people we would see out jogging was soldiers.
Wow. That's amazing.
But we did the same thing when we were in Israel. We would go jogging, and you didn't see very many people jogging, but we would. There would be maybe a few other Americans that were there who would also run, but it's just something we used to do together, and we did it for many years together. Yale doesn't anymore. He goes to the gym and he does all sorts of things on the gym, which I think is actually better also. But for years and years, I ran almost every day, Chris, and I would run for an hour.
Right.
So, it's a lot of running, but it's good exercise, and it's just a good thing. It was a good thing to do. Right. And it's an easy thing to do, because no matter where you go, all you need to do is take a pair of running shoes. No big deal. You don't need it.
So what would be your call to action today?
my call to action would be that you should be nice to people. You should appreciate people, and you should help people. And if you do that, then you will feel good, and people will feel good about you. And I just think your life will be happier and nicer. And people will be grateful that you've helped them. And you can be grateful when they, turn around and help you back. It's just a matter of, put out your hand, help people. I mean, it's not really a big deal, but it's
Right.
something that if you do it, you will feel good, and so will they. So it's
Exactly.
a win-win all the way around. And I think that people who are helpful and do help others, there's a whole bunch of benefits to that. And
I
again,
agree.
it's an old story. What goes around comes around. So that if
Exactly.
you ever find yourself in a situation where you need a hand, somebody will reach out to you because you've helped them. I mean,
Exactly.
I'm very happy to help my friends with different things. And so if I ever call them and I go, I need a ride, they give me a ride. It's no big deal.
Right. Right. Well, my call to action will be today is just simply be thankful for not only the people that you're surrounding yourself with, friends, family, coworkers, but be thankful of the experience. Be thankful for what happens, not necessarily to you, but more importantly, maybe for you, because the more that you see what's happening uh, in that day to day, you can only not only learn so much from the people that's around you, but it's going to be some great added value because you can take some of that nuggets and say, you know what, I learned this from Sandy today, and this is what I'm going to do, or this is what I learned from Carla, and this is what I'm going to do. And see, you do that, and you do that from a genuine place of thankfulness and gratitude. I think that's a great thing. So again, Sandy, thank you so much for this another great and engaging conversation. We're sharing care. We will see you tomorrow for Conversations for Humanity. Everyone, have a great day. Make it your day, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, bye.
All right. Bye bye.